Get ready.
Hello, I'm your host 60, and welcome to the Fridge Gaming News, your news for the last week of gaming. First off, on the gaming news, Multiverses released its official cinematic trailer. The Multiverses is a platform fighter for all of the DC-owned characters and, I guess, cartoons, superheroes, TV shows, pretty much anything. So we've got Hanna-Barbera, DC Comics, Cartoon Network shows, Adult Swim shows. It's kind of a mishmash of everything, and they're very much bowing into the memes because Shaggy is a Super Saiyan. Oh yeah, also the Iron Giant's here because I didn't even know he was under that category of stuff. Next up, Techland is working on a AAA open-world action RPG with former CG Projekt Red staff. Kind of a misnomer for that one, considering CG Projekt Red is probably the most notable. And when you say AAA, open-world fantasy, you'll want to say what the highest team is, right? So you go with The Witcher. However, we've got narrative director from Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. Narrative lead was on Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. And then we have the open world director who is in Cyberpunk 2077 and The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Then we've got creative director who worked on Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, Mad Max, and vaguely at Microsoft. We've also got the lead game designers from Arcane, Deep Silver, and Playground. And the lead animator is from Gorilla. Lead user interface is from People Who Fly. So, it's a spread. It just happens that there's a slight majority towards CD Projekt Red to play off of for this. A fantasy epic set in a sprawling open world fueled by the skills and experience you've gained as a team. Pictures look neat. That the world fell apart, kind of weird mountain temple thing going on. Turns out that Take-Two and Zynga are merging on Monday. Take-Two will be purchasing Zynga for $12.7 billion, which is about a quarter of what Microsoft is going to buy Activision Blizzard for. And using that marketing, Take-Two could probably license some of its games down into mobile games and utilize the ability they have there. Because Take-Two doesn't necessarily publish anything mobile at the moment anyway, so it's a good thing for them to try and move into other markets. It just happens they're doing it instead of making their own studio or their own section, they're just buying an existing ridiculous amount of money. So Jeff Keighley had mentioned on his Twitter and then linked a Puck.news that it turns out that at one point Electronic Arts was set to merge with NBC Universal, which would have been even more ridiculous because, all the media is buying all the media. I don't. It's just if one monster eats all the other monsters, then you have to have a big monster. But that deal fell apart. EA is still standing on its own, and frankly, I think EA should stand on its own. If anything, it's going to be a monster eats other one. Well, if you were going to buy parts for your Steam Deck, iFixit is now going to be supplying them. The Steam Deck is both suggested and not suggested to be repaired and modified. All the parts are available on Steam's website, even down to the CAD model. So it's super modified, and it seems like because they partnered sort of with iFixit for the teardown, that I guess iFixit will be hosting the parts. Greedfall 2 is announced. If you'd never played the first Greedfall, imagine that you are in you've moved to a new continent, sort of like the Americas, and it's been partially conquered by Europeans, vaguely, alluded to in most of this. The European continents had an overwhelming plague that had been taking over them, and they went to the new continent in search of hopes that they could find a cure for it. In Greedfall 2, this is a prequel, which is 3 years before the first Greedfall, where you are on the original continent dealing with the effects of the plague and trying to connect the story before that. Now, the first Greedfall, which I did actually play a bit of it, had some weirdness to it. It wasn't horrible. Greedfall 1, you were on a New World continent, such as the Americas, kind of deal. They had Native Americans and like natives to the island that had Irish accents for some reason, and kind of just had a protect the land kind of thing about them. There were separate French and English-based groups, and then basically like you had factions that were supposed to represent each of like the countries that had come to like the island. It was okay. It had a lot of pasted terrain, and the battle system was built up to be a ridiculously wide battle system. You could do basically whatever you want. You want 2 swords, 1 sword, an axe, magic, guns, whatever. And the problem is that you could walk in there with like a sword and shield, or you could walk in there with a gun. And so because of that, the guns were insanely powerful, and you had to fight people with the same guns as you. You could walk in there with a sword and shield, or you walk in there with like a sword and a gun, and then the guy just shoots you and you immediately die because like bullets trump swords. It didn't make any sense. And the problem was that if you didn't have the skills to make yourself bullets, well, if you picked the gun class and you didn't give yourself enough bullets, you would like literally walk into the first mission and then just get shot, and then suddenly, oh, I've got nothing. I guess I'll try to use the sword, and you literally get eviscerated. So EA, following recent news that they are going to drop the FIFA license and go and make their own EA sports-based soccer game, laid off about 200 customer support staff supporting FIFA 2022. This is probably something that was actually probably based off of the license that they had with FIFA. In update news, Microsoft Flight Simulator is updating more of its map. Italy and Malta are getting super high-res updates now to them. So if you're flying over your hometown and you happen to be Italian or Maltan, I don't think that's it. But if you're from there, you could probably fly over your hometown, or you can fly over like Concordia, and it'll be full high-res detailed. The original models that were in Flight Simulator were created in like 2010. So every time that they put out these packs, they actually remodel everything off of laser scans from the current decade. And the change in quality is ridiculous. Kerbal Space Program 2 has been pushed back to 2023. The new date is early 2023. Kerbal Space Program 2 has kind of had some long development problems going on. I'm sure it'll eventually come out, but just weird publishers and developers fighting through everything kind of deal. In other game news, Test Drive Unlimited has also been delayed, with also the news of big 2023. Not much going on there. I'm sure all of these games are kind of in finished state, and they're just trying to fix things up. And following off the recent hype and news I've been giving, Redout 2 also got delayed. It is now going to launch on June 16th. At least it's this year. But I think, and these delays aren't horrible, and I mean, they're only horrible in their pockets, not ours, so can't really complain about that. Thanks for watching this episode of the Fridge Gaming News. If you want to catch it live, you can catch it over at twitch.tv/6507. Do these every Sunday starting at 2 p.m., and then after that, I stream some kind of game for another couple hours. We also go over game releases.